The moment you try to control life, something subtle happens. It feels like safety. It feels like responsibility. It feels like you're being smart, but quietly, almost without you noticing. You begin building a prison for yourself. The more tightly you grip your plans, your relationships, your future, the more anxious you become. And the cruel, ironic truth is this: control never removes fear, it multiplies it. It feeds the very thing you're trying to escape. When we attempt to control every detail of our lives, we aren't exercising strength. We are reacting from a place of deep fear. Control is not power. Control is the ego's knee-jerk response to uncertainty. Our ego, that part of us that defines who we think we are, simply does not trust life. It fears chaos, because chaos exposes its limits. It shows that the ego isn't really in charge. This is why the overwhelming desire to control everything, outcomes, other people, the timing of events, even our own emotions, isn't a sign of confidence. It's the ego fighting for its own survival. It's the ego trying to convince itself that it can manage the unmanageable, that it can tame the wild, beautiful, unpredictable nature of existence. Think about how much of your day, your mental energy, is spent planning, predicting, calculating, preparing for things that may never even happen. You rehearse conversations in your head, playing them out like a script. You imagine worst-case scenarios, building entire fortresses of thought around potential disasters. You create backup plans for your backup plans, just in case. And yet, after all that effort, reality always unfolds differently, doesn't it? It's not because you failed in your planning. It's because life is not an equation. It's not a neat, tidy system that can be fully solved or cracked like a code. Uncertainty is not a flaw in life. It's not a bug in the system. It is the very source of movement, of change, of growth. It's the space where new possibilities are born. When you resist uncertainty, you are resisting the very flow of life itself. This resistance creates an immense internal tension. That tension, held in the body and mind, becomes anxiety. And chronic anxiety, day in and day out, becomes deep, soul-crushing exhaustion. You end up tired not from living, but from fighting life. You're exhausted from trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. To understand this better, we need to look at the difference between the ego and our true inner center. The ego is a necessary tool. It's incredibly useful. It helps us orient ourselves in the world, make decisions, function in society, and essentially survive. But it was never meant to rule our entire psyche. It's a manager, not the CEO. When the ego becomes the center of your world, when its voice is the only one you hear, you lose contact with your deeper self. You lose touch with that quiet, wise, inner organizing principle that knows how to move with life rather than constantly fighting against it. When the ego is in the driver's seat, life feels like a constant struggle, a relentless battle. Every small deviation from your master plan feels like a personal threat. Every mistake feels dangerous and catastrophic. Every unexpected change feels like a terrible loss. This is the fertile ground where anxiety is born. and where it thrives. It's a world where nothing is ever good enough, because nothing is ever perfectly under your control. The ego's promise of safety through control is a lie. It promises peace, but delivers a constant state of high alert. Beyond just creating anxiety, the obsession with control actively blocks life from reaching you. Control destroys spontaneity. It kills the magic of the present moment. When you're so focused on the map you've drawn, you stop noticing the actual landscape around you. You miss the serendipitous encounters, the happy accidents, the subtle openings and opportunities that life presents. You miss what flows to you naturally because you are so busy trying to force what you think should happen. Think about it. How many times have you tried to force something to work? A relationship, a job, a project. You pushed, you manipulated, you strategized, you white-knuckled it with all your mightily for it to fall apart or become a source of misery. And then contrast that with the times something wonderful happened. How many times did things just beautifully fall into place the moment you finally let go? The moment you surrendered and said, "I'll do my best, but I can't control the outcome." This isn't mysticism or some New Age fantasy. It is a fundamental psychological law. When you loosen your grip, when you release that need for absolute control, clarity begins to replace tension. You stop being a prison guard, anxiously watching every corner of your life, and you become a witness. You become an active participant. You still act. You still make choices. You still have goals, but you act from a place of wisdom and flow, not from a place of fear and desperation. Your actions become more effective because they are aligned with reality, not with your ego's rigid fantasy of it. So, what is the first step out of this prison of control? It's simple, but it can feel deeply uncomfortable at first. It's the radical acceptance of a simple truth. You do not control life. You participate in it. You co-create with it. The moment you truly, deeply accept this, the power that anxiety has over you begins to weaken. Not because your problems magically disappear, but because you stop strangling them. You give them space to breathe, to shift, to resolve. Try this today, just as an experiment. Allow one single day to unfold without forcing it. Set your intentions in the morning. Know what you'd like to accomplish, but then release your tight grip on every single outcome. Observe what happens when you stop micromanaging every moment, every conversation, every feeling. Notice the little surprises. Notice the ease that comes when you stop resisting. This is not about being passive. It's about being powerful in a different way. A power of allowing, of trusting, of participating in the beautiful, uncontrollable dance of life. Have you ever noticed how anxiety feels a lot like intelligence? It has this sneaky way of convincing you that worrying is just another form of responsibility. That if you just think harder, you can protect yourself from everything that might go wrong. That constant vigilance is the same thing as care. But here's the truth. Anxiety doesn't solve problems. It just creates the illusion that you're doing something about them. It feels like activity, but it's really just a hamster wheel in your mind. So, What is anxiety, really? We often think it's a signal of impending danger, a smoke alarm telling us to run. But more often than not, it's the shadow of our own consciousness. It shows up when our inner balance is lost, when we start living entirely in our heads, disconnected from our bodies and the present moment. The ego, that part of us that constructs our identity, absolutely thrives on this noise. Silence is a threat to the ego because, in silence, the ego starts to dissolve. That's why anxiety is so loud, so repetitive, so dramatic. It keeps talking and talking, not to find solutions, but simply to keep itself relevant, to keep itself alive. It's a survival mechanism for the ego, not for you. Take a moment and watch what happens the next time you worry. Pay close attention. Does your mind actually move forward, finding new solutions and pathways? Or does it just circle the same drain over and over again? What if this happens? And then what? And what if that plan fails too? It's a loop. This is a tremendous amount of energy with absolutely no outlet. It's like putting your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. It's frozen motion, and your body doesn't know the difference. It reacts as if the danger is real, right here, right now. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your shoulders tighten up and creep towards your ears. Your heart starts racing. For the ego and for your nervous system, there is no distinction between a terrifying thought and a real-life threat. This is why fighting your anxiety always fails. Have you tried to just push it down, to suppress it? It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The second you lose focus, it bursts back up with even more force. Have you tried arguing with it, using logic to talk yourself out of it? That just gives it a debate partner, strengthening its position. It feeds on the attention. Have you tried escaping it through distractions? That only deepens its roots, because you're teaching yourself that the feeling is too dangerous to face. The great paradox of anxiety is this: it begins to dissolve the moment it is truly observed, not attacked. When you stop identifying with the anxious thoughts, they lose their authority over you. You are not your anxiety. You have never been your anxiety. You are the one who notices it. The shift happens in a single, subtle moment. It's the difference between thinking, "I am anxiety," and thinking, "I am noticing a feeling of anxiety." Can you feel the space in that second phrase? In that moment, you become the observer, not the prisoner. You're no longer tangled up in the feeling. You're standing beside it, looking at it with curiosity. From this place of observation, you can start to ask gentle questions. What am I really afraid of right now? Am I afraid of losing control? Am I afraid of being rejected? Am I afraid of failing? The simple act of naming the specific fear underneath the general noise of anxiety weakens its power. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The monster you imagined shrinks into a simple shadow. Behind all that anxious, chaotic energy is a powerful force just waiting to be transformed. Ultimately, anxiety is a deep resistance to uncertainty. It's a demand for guarantees in a world that can't offer them. We want to know what's going to happen. We want a roadmap with no detours. But not knowing isn't the same as being in danger. Not knowing is simply the nature of reality. It's the space where all growth, all creativity, and all new possibilities are born. The ego demands certainty. Life offers movement, change, and flow. The moment you stop demanding guarantees, the moment you allow yourself to be in the discomfort of not knowing, something amazing happens. The mental fog starts to lift. Clarity emerges, not because you figured everything out, but because you stopped trying to. You let go of the resistance, and in that surrender, you find your strength. The key is to practice becoming the observer. Throughout your day, just notice. Notice the tension in your jaw. Notice the story your mind is telling. Notice the urge to figure it all out right now. And just let it be there. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just notice. Ah, there's that thought again. There's that tightness in my chest. Each time you do this, you are strengthening your observing self and weakening the grip of the ego. You are reclaiming your inner peace, one moment at a time. This isn't about getting rid of anxiety forever. It's about changing your relationship to it. It's about realizing that the storm is just a storm, and you are the vast, unshakable sky that holds it. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this space with me. Have you ever noticed that most of the anxiety you feel isn't about protecting your actual life? It's not about keeping you safe from a real, tangible threat. Instead, most of your anxiety is there to protect an image, a specific version of yourself that you believe you absolutely must maintain at all costs. Think about it. This idea, this persona, is the root of so much of our inner turmoil. We all play different roles in our lives. At work, you are the professional. In your relationship, you are the partner. With your children, you are the parent. With your friends, you are the reliable friend. These roles are not inherently bad. They are useful social constructs that help us navigate different situations. They give us a framework for how to act. But a problem arises when we start to believe that these roles are who we are. When your identity becomes completely fused with the role, that's when anxiety begins to creep in. Suddenly, you're not just a person doing a job. You are the professional. You're not just a person loving another. You are the perfect partner. When this shift happens, you start to live in fear. You fear being exposed as an imposter. You fear making a mistake and failing in that role. You fear that someone will discover you're not good enough, smart enough, or strong enough to live up to the image you've created. This is what I call the prison of the persona. It's a cage built from expectations, both your own and those you perceive from others. And living inside it is exhausting. Every day becomes a performance. You put on a mask the moment you wake up, and you don't take it off until you collapse into bed at night. If you even take it off, then you're constantly managing how you appear, carefully choosing your words, hiding your true feelings. This performance requires an immense amount of energy. Energy that could be used for creativity, for connection, for simply enjoying your life. Instead, it's all channeled into upholding this fragile image. So what happens to all the parts of you that don't fit this perfect image? Where do they go? Your moments of weakness, your feelings of fear, your profound fatigue. Your nagging self-doubt of these authentic human experiences are deemed unacceptable. They don't fit the script, so you push them away. You deny them, suppress them, and hide them deep within you, hoping no one will ever see them. These repressed parts of yourself form what we can call the shadow. The shadow is the collection of everything you don't want to be, or at least everything you don't want others to see. But here's the paradox. The more you try to deny your shadow, the more powerful it becomes. It doesn't just disappear. Instead, it grows louder in the quiet moments. It manifests as that inner critic that tells you you're a fraud. It bubbles up as sudden bursts of anger or unexplained sadness. It fuels your anxiety because you re-terrified that a crack will appear in your mask and your shadow will spill out for everyone to see. Living this way, trying to be perfect all the time, is an incredibly stressful and fragile existence. The pressure is immense. One small mistake at work doesn't feel like a simple error. It feels catastrophic, like your entire professional identity is about to crumble. One piece of criticism from a loved one doesn't feel like feedback. It feels unbearable, like a personal attack that invalidates your worth as a partner or friend. You are living on a knife's edge, constantly vigilant, constantly defending the persona. But what if there was another way? What if you just let go? What if you stopped defending the image? This is where true strength is found. The moment you stop pouring all your energy into maintaining a facade, that energy returns to you. It's like putting down a massive, invisible weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. You no longer feel the constant, nagging need to prove your worth. You no longer have to perform for an invisible audience. In place of all that effort, something new and much more powerful begins to emerge. Authenticity. You start to show up as your whole self, not just the curated, polished version. You allow your vulnerability to be seen. You admit when you don't know something. You accept your imperfections. And a funny thing happens when you do this. Instead of the judgment and rejection you feared, you often find connection and compassion. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with humanity. True stability in life doesn't come from being flawless. That's an impossible and fragile goal. Real, lasting stability comes from wholeness. It comes from accepting all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the weaknesses. When you embrace your whole self, you become like a deep-rooted tree. The winds of criticism and the storms of failure might shake your branches, but they won't knock you over. Your foundation is solid because it's real. When you operate from this place of wholeness, your relationship with life itself begins to change. The constant tension between your ego, part of you that wants to maintain the image, and your deeper, authentic self begins to dissolve. When your ego and your deeper self start to cooperate instead of fight, life begins to flow. You stop forcing things and start allowing them. This doesn't mean you become passive. You still act. You still make choices. You still have goals and ambitions. But the driving force behind your actions is no longer a fear-driven need for control. You are no longer desperately trying to manage every outcome and control every perception. Instead, you're guided by an inner sense of rightness, by intuition, by a calm clarity that was previously drowned out by the noise of anxiety. Think about it. When are you at your most creative and insightful? Is it when you're tense, stressed, and desperately trying to figure everything out? Or is it in those moments of calm, maybe on a walk, in the shower, or just as you're waking up? Clarity comes in calm, not in tension. You stop trying to drag life forward, kicking and screaming, and you begin to move with it, like a dancer moving with a partner. There's a beautiful and profound final insight here. You cannot control the river of life. You can try. You can build dams. You can try to divert its course. But ultimately, the river will flow where it's meant to flow. All that resistance just exhausts you and creates turbulence. This is not about giving up. It's about intelligent cooperation. It's about learning to steer your boat with the flow of the water, not against it. Life does not need your constant, anxious supervision to be wise. There is an inherent order, an intelligence to the way things unfold. The moment you stop resisting, the moment you drop the mask and stop fighting to control everything, that order begins to reveal itself. Solutions appear that you couldn't have planned. Opportunities arise that you couldn't have foreseen. But because you finally got out of your own way and allowed life to unfold. Dropping the persona isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding yourself. It's about coming home to the whole, authentic, and truly powerful person you are meant to be. It's trading the exhausting burden of a perfect image for the liberating freedom of being real. And in that freedom, you will find a peace and a strength that no persona could ever give you. If you're still here, still watching my videos, I just want to say something simple. Thank you. In this world of endless noise and constant distractions, the fact that you choose to spend your time here with me means more than you can possibly imagine. It means you're one of those rare people who wants to go deeper, who wants to question things, and who looks for answers inside yourself, not just on the surface. I am honestly so happy that there are people like you who share these interests, these questions, and this search for meaning. So, if you feel like this space resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this video with someone you know who might need it. Your support helps this content reach more people who are also quietly searching. Thank you for being here, really.